Hello and welcome everyone in another episode of Researcher Celebrity. And today we have Dr. Gerard with us. Gerard has done his bachelor's and master's in Barcelona, from where he moved to Australia to do his PhD, and then lately moved to United States for postdoctoral research. Thank you very much, Gerard, for spending time with us, and we look forward to this great journey. Welcome you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So traditionally, how we start this conversation is when you thought that you wanted to be a researcher and how it ended till now.
So my journey was a bit weird. Coming from high school and getting into the later stages of high school, where you have to decide what you're gonna do. I was in between studying languages or science. So it was two very polar opposites of research or things that I could do with my life. And I decided in the beginning to do science because there were more opportunities, both to branch out and also in case it didn't go well, I could go back to study languages. Whereas the other way, you couldn't do that. So I was not a kid that wanted to study science from the get-go. I kind of learned from it and went ahead with it. And obviously during end of high school and starting biology in Barcelona, I fell in love with it, and it's been that way since. So it was a kind of a weird way to start. I was never passionate about bugs or about biology. I guess that I was always curious about the world, but I was not one of these devoted biologists. Yeah, so that's how it started. And then I did biology in the beginning, and then biotechnology in Barcelona. Graduated in biotechnology from the main university in there, and then did a master's after 4 years of my bachelor. I did the master's in HIV and virology. And when I finished that, I moved to Melbourne, Australia, to pursue a PhD in bugs, studying mosquitoes and in the interactions of those with tropical viruses. Yeah, so after PhD, I moved to San Diego to do gene drives also in mosquitoes and other bugs, other insects. And now I'm currently in Penn State studying, again, viruses and their interactions with mosquitoes, as well as some genetic engineering that I do on the side.
Okay. So you said that it was not at the very basic interest of yours to become a researcher, but apparently for more than a decade, you are in research and you are doing very good in that. So now, do you think that you are a more passionate researcher now?
Yes. Okay. So I think that from the very beginning, I consider myself a pretty hardworking guy. So the passion kind of gets built as well based on your work ethic and your interests. So obviously, I'm still in science and in research and in academia, which is a tough field to be in if you're not passionate or if you don't like what you're doing, for reasons that we can talk later. But so yeah, I consider myself more passionate on what I'm doing than I was 10 years ago. Obviously, when you're an 18-year-old kid, it's difficult to find the way in the world, even as a 23 when I moved to Australia or when I finished PhD. So there's little steps that you do that make you more passionate, or that and sometimes you fell out of that passion. That happens to everybody. There's projects that don't go well there that make you lose interest in them, and that's fine. It's just finding your path, So yeah, to your question, of course, I'm more passionate about what I'm doing than I used to be.
So this can be an analogy that how wine with the age it matures and it gives you a better flavor. This is what research has done to you over the period of last decade or so.
Well, and if you want to do this analogy, that which I'm fine with, there's also going to be some bottles that go bad, and that's fine. So if some projects or some part of your research is not interesting, then it's fine too. You just in a way discard it, and you follow what you want to do. It's fine to change research fields. It's fine to, as long as you're not jumping from plants to humans to primates to bacteria, as you can just kind of go through the edges of your research and try to find new avenues. That's fine, and that's where you get the passion. I think I'm somebody that is very, as I said earlier, very curious about a bunch of things. So I'm not a pure biologist. I'm a very, you know me, I'm a very weird researcher. I have many interests outside science, and that's what makes the passion for me as well. Because when I'm here, I want to do it, and I'm happy to do it. If I didn't have those other interests, if you only have biology, I think it's also kind of very overcrowding for your head, for your life. So
yeah. So here for our audience, just for your reference, I will try to explain what Gerard just said. He used the word weird researcher, which I believe most of the world in general think about all the researchers. So you fit in so well in there that everyone's like, yes, we can correlate with you. That's what we think of all the researchers, that they are weird. So when Gerard say this, he's just saying he's a researcher. Okay, so just for the background for all the researchers who are not only in biology but in different fields and streams also. So Gerard, when you enrolled in PhD, you already moved from Spain to Australia, and then from Australia to United States. How these moves were in terms of science as well as in culture?
So in science, I found the move from Spain. Well, actually, my move was Spain, Rome, because I also studied in Rome. So it was Spain, Italy. So let's say South Europe. From South Europe to Australia, that was a big change for me, both scientifically and obviously culturally. Scientifically, going from and probably for part of your audience would also be like shocking. South Europe at the time that I was there, the time that I was doing research in South Europe, we were going through the economical crisis that started in 2008 and ended in, it may not have ended yet for our countries, but so the resources were not great. So there was a lot of limitations on the research, as well as reusing stuff that you shouldn't reuse. Which, look, it's what it is,
Yeah.
It's the life that you have to live with. When I moved to Australia, it was not how much anything costed. It was, can you do it? And that's very important. Research wise, because if you have to start counting the dollars, then your research is going to be limited. You're not gonna do what you want to do. You're doing what you can do. And sometimes there's a lot of good things coming out of that, because you get to be more resourceful, instead of just wasting money that sometimes you do. And also learning new things. So instead of having a kit to extract DNA, you learn how to extract DNA without that kit, more on the classic way. So you're learning stuff on the way as well. So it's good. But yeah, scientifically, it was a big difference. The move to Australia. From Australia to the US, it was not as such. Just probably because they're economically paired, even though Australia has or invest much less in research compared to the US, which is #1 in the world.
Mhm.
You can still do. And I was in a very good lab in Australia, so a very well funded lab. So I never had those problems. Somebody else in Australia may have had problems similar to the ones that I was describing that I had in Spain. So in the US, the move from Australia to the US was seamless. And also culturally, Australia to the US, and especially going to San Diego, it was, San Diego is kind of a mix of where I was in Australia and Spain because of the Latin population or the Mexican population in there. So culturally, I San Diego was good for me, and also where I'm now. So there's no difference.
Okay.
But
When you said that you have interest outside the biology,
yeah.
okay. So when you are not in lab, not doing your science, how do you like these three places, being in Europe, Australia, and US, and how that impacted the research which you were doing?
That's a difficult question because I don't consider myself Spanish anymore, or Catalan. I consider myself Catalan, which is a region of Spain, but I don't consider myself purely that anymore. The same way that you probably don't consider yourself purely Indian anymore, just because you get different parts of yourself kind of sharpened, depending on where you live and the cultures that you come in contact with. So obviously, the activities I do back home, or if I was living back home, would be similar but also different to the ones I used to do in Australia, and different to the ones I did in San Diego, or the ones I'm doing here in central Pennsylvania. So, but there's a common denominator, and it's your interests, right? Like your interest, you'll take anywhere, and you'll just learn how to do it. So, for example, for me, a big part of me is cycling. The way I used to cycle in San Diego is very different to the way I cycle here, just because of the landscape, just because of the amount of cars that are in a big city compared to a rural college town. And it would be different to the ones I have back home. So, but the interests remain the same. It just, you learn how to do them. And the way it has impacted me, so as I was saying, like I'm a weird scientist because for example, I read science from anything. I don't read just my field. So if I'm interested in something, I may get a YouTube video on I don't know, a neutron collider, just because all of a sudden I have this, I want to learn about astrophysics. And you don't get into a deep dive, but you learn a little bit. So the way it impacts is that it just kind of giving me an escape from my work. I think that's needed in any job you do. You can't be 24/7 devoted to your work, because it will be fine for a period, and then it will just burst, and it will smash you in your face. So you need no, it's the truth. You need some escape where you're fine doing activities outside of work.
So how, if we keep this as a process of rejuvenation, you need a break because sometimes you're burned, and research is a well-known system that can burn anyone. So then you need a break, you rejuvenate, and then again you come back strong. So
yeah, and sometimes, like, it doesn't have to be necessarily a break. So sometimes I'm writing and I'm also thinking about an experiment, or all of a sudden there's like, oh, maybe I could do that. And on the way home, you think about, what you're doing, or going to the gym, or doing a pottery class. I don't know, whatever you're interested in, or reading a book. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a break where you go on holidays, which is also important, and it's something that we can talk about because none of us take breaks in academia, or we feel bad about taking breaks.
Mm-hmm.
But so it doesn't have to be a 6 month break. It can be, you know, a 2 hour break where you just put your mind to something else.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so talking of which, now when we are talking about the research, the passion, and it comes with some people call that as burden. Some people enjoy that pressure. Some people say that with pressure they can uh, give their best. What are your thoughts about being in research for so long time and still doing it, still being motivated to it every single morning when you are waking up and you are excited to go lab to do your research? What keeps you going?
So I guess that's a question that every person will answer differently. And this comes to some people needing their boss to be on top of them, being like, "What are you doing today?" and blah blah blah, very micromanaging them in a way. Other people want their boss to be away and let them be because they have their own schedules, their own, you know, they're gonna do it regardless of the boss. Um, for me, like my current boss is very hands off in a way. It's also because I'm a postdoc, I'm a senior researcher, so he can have the hands off. I want to be pushed sometimes, but I have a pretty strong will on going to the lab and academia. Even though you're part of a lab or you're part of a, you know, a research community, um, it's a very isolating job in a way. You can collaborate with other people, but most of the time you're working for yourself.
Mhm.
If you want to succeed, you have to do your work. You have to be on top of things for you, obviously for the lab. And there's going to be a path where your lab's interests are. So you'll
Mhm.
have to fit on that. But you get given a project and you're the one that has to deliver that project. If you don't deliver it,
Mhm.
obviously your boss or your lab head is not going to be happy. Um,
Mhm.
but he will have other people that do their job. So the impact is not going to be as great on them as it is with you or your career. Um,
Mhm.
so that's where where you get the will from. Knowing that even though you're part of a team or you're part of a lab, you're also working for yourself. You either work or you better, I mean, not better, but you're going to be pushed out just
Mhm.
because it's the nature of the work,
Mhm.
um, you know. So that's what keeps me going, to know that um, obviously I have passion for it, but also like it's my job.
Mhm.
As much as it is passion, it's my job. And if you don't do it, then you're doing a poor job. You're not gonna succeed.
Mhm. Nice. So let's take a step back. In research, you said when you're reading a book, when you're cycling, you're taking just 2 hour break, you're thinking about your experiments and then how you can do it better. It's always in your head. But this is something which has not true for most of the other jobs outside the research. So when they are in their job, either it be 9 to 5, 8 to 4, they are there, and when they're out, they're out. They don't even think that what happens after that. And I'm sure you might have friends and family and relatives in all of those. One of them are doing research, some of them are not doing research. What are the comments or the conversations when you guys meet up, you feel proud about your research?
I in a way disagree to that statement, and I'll explain why.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're part of a machinery, yes, you will have a 8 to 4, 9 to 5 job. You're gonna go home to your family, to whatever, and you're gonna zone out. Um, if you are successful, if you're in a position of power, as it's called lately, if you're CEO of a company, if you have somebody under you, working, and you're high up in any company, if you own a business, if you are, many different jobs. It's never an 8 to 4 or 9 to 5 job. Some of my friends obviously have 9 to 5 jobs where they go home and they just play video games and do nothing. And it's fine, because it's what they want. They get their paycheck. They have, again, other interests outside work. Work is work. They just don't care much about it. Whereas I have other friends, a very close friend of mine owns a restaurant. Another close friend of mine his family has a meat business. My mom is a CEO of a company. So these 3 examples, for example, none of them go home and they're like, oh, that's it. No, if they have to work on a Saturday, if they get a call at 8 p.m., they're gonna do it. Or they keep thinking how to make things better, and they get the stress out of it. So to your question, some of my friends do not understand that I have to come to the lab on a Sunday to pass stocks or to inoculate some E. coli. But others are like, yeah, sure. The only difference is that I would come to inoculate E. coli. They would go to pay the paychecks for their employees or to open their restaurant to get some produce in, for the week. Or prepare food. So it's just going to be a bit different, but I don't think that most people have 9 to 5 jobs where they go home and.
Nice. I think this is a new perspective, and I would like to tell all the audience here that a researcher can think the same thing in so many different ways, as just Gerard put this up for all of us, that nobody, almost very less people are doing 9 to 5 job. Everyone is just always occupied in some or the other thing, might not be work related. So Gerard, your journey of doing research in 3 different continents and at different time, and you have seen the technology growing up during this time, as you said, starting from DNA isolation, doing manual method, and then using the kits. Different fields of research you have undertaken. What is the most important thing about your research which you love the most, and you see it as if you are going it forever doing that?
So you're asking me what part of my research I envision myself doing forever?
Yes.
So I think it's not a technique, or it's not a specific thing. For me, it's discovery, and it can be in any sort of science related field. It's the uncertainty of what an experiment is going to tell you, and then it says, or with gene drives, building a gene drive and how it's going to work. And even if it doesn't work, I think that there's, and that's something that I always tell a PhD student that's in the lab, that we're working together pretty closely. If you plan an experiment well, it's not a failed experiment, right? Even if it doesn't work, you'll learn something from it.
Yes.
And if you don't, it's because you didn't plan the experiment well.
Yes.
So it's this part of discovery. Oh, it didn't work. Why didn't it work? Oh, it's because of that. Or for work that I'm currently doing, does this species of mosquito transmit viruses? Do they or do they not? I have no idea until you do it. So that's what I envision myself doing. It can be in a we were talking offline on this, so it can be in academia, it can be in a company, it can be in anywhere. It can be cooking, like you just put some condiment into, how does it taste? Oh, that's cool. So it's the discovery part, and it could be also in engineering. It doesn't have to be in biology necessarily.
Yes, absolutely. So this is one thing which I believe most of the researchers share with you, when they think about their research and what they will be doing forever. But one thing which has been recently, reported worldwide, that kids after 2, 3, 4, 5 years in their PhD, moving out of their PhDs.
Yeah.
Have you ever known someone who has done that similar, or, what do you think that what they should be more prepared so that this thing doesn't happen to them or to anyone near their, like in the friend or the community?
So I've known a bunch of them. For me, from the 4 years that I was doing a PhD, I think on the third, for both also my bachelor, and my PhD, on the third year, I was like, I can't do this. I was getting very stressed, very burnt in a way. So for me, for example, for the PhD, up until my third year, I didn't have good results. So it was 2 years of growing pains. And then on the third, everything came together well. So that's something that it's not uncommon as well. Where it fails, and then it works. This has happened to many people and very good researchers.
Yes.
It's not you. It's just that again, as long as you do your experiments right, then you can be confident that it's the science, and sometimes projects go better than others, and then it just just veering your ship.
Mm-hmm.
So I've known a lot of people that finished their PhD and moved on. It's sad because some of them are close friends of mine that are, I think that they're excellent researchers and they would be great in academia or in the science field. I mean, they're still in science, so it's not that they went ahead and did something else, but they're not in researching. So it's something inevitable. If you get burned, you can probably find your passion through something else. Maybe sometimes it's a small different project that you can take on the side and keeps your passion going. Sometimes you don't notice that you're getting burned until you're you're done, and once it's done, it's done. But yeah, it's a very common thing, especially lately.
Okay. So
I don't know what to tell them. It happened to me. And it semi burned me. But then once you get results, so science is very up and down. And it's very easy to, when you're down, when it's late at night every single day and the experiment, or you do a massive experiment, it doesn't work, that you're like, I'm out. I can't do it anymore. But then you get positive results and you're the happiest person ever. So you have to live with it. You either live it or it's not the job for you. And it's fine as well if it's not the job for you and you do a PhD. You at least you've realized that you learned a bunch of stuff that it's not useless, because it's never useless. But you just don't want to stay in academia. That's fine.
Yeah. So this is something which Thomas Alva Edison has said so brilliantly, that when people were saying he was trying to make an electric bulb and what metal can we use it for it or not. So hundreds failures, different stories, different numbers. People say you have so many failures, and the attitude he brings is like, okay, I told you that this material cannot be used for the filament. So it is just the way you look at it. And the tough part is everyone has this positive attitude. Everyone knows that, okay, it's just today that this thing doesn't work out. Tomorrow will be a new day, new results. And when it comes, everyone enjoy them. But what we want to suggest, or, tell all the audience, that coming from different researchers, one thing which is stagnant is like failure are inevitable. There will be days when you don't want to be there anymore. It's fine. Take your break. come back, and that's when it goes to the success. And Gerard, coming back to you, you said that there were times when you really wanted to, like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. What brought you back next?
So again, like I think, and looking back to it, that's something also that I tell people all the time. What brings you back is the successes. However, I would much prefer a PhD that is difficult and you cry over it, and it in a way it brings you down a lot. As long as you recover from it, then a PhD that is very easy. You know, all the experiments are great, all the experiments are done well. Because guess what's gonna happen next? Eventually, you're gonna have failure, and then you're not gonna be able to cope with it. So the earliest that you learn how that failure is there in anything, the better you're gonna get for it. And again, it's not only science. It can be in any work you're doing, in friendships, in love, in sports, in anywhere. So you savor the victories better, and I think that's what brings you back. Knowing that you can still do it. You know, that it's not you, that it's just how you solve the problem. And then you get a moral boost in a way.
Yeah. And I think that is also very coherent when people, the one who have never faced, any trouble in their experiments, so they lack the most important part in research, which is troubleshooting, has happened to me. So I know I have worked all the time where everything worked. And the first time when nothing was working, I was like, I don't know this part of research, because whatever I thought worked, now I felt that I'm stuck in something which I don't know. But that is where the most important lesson of research comes. The troubleshooting failures are the path which you have to walk to get to your success. And this is
and I mean, Raja, not to interrupt you there, but like an analogy that some people may not like because it's the time that it is. But if you look at the recent events in England, if you look at Prince Charles or King Charles now, this guy has never experienced failure in his life. Now he's getting overwhelmed with everything that he has to do. So you see all these videos in Twitter of him getting frustrated.
Yes.
That's a clear example of a person that never dealt with failure, and now it's like, oh, I have to write here. Oh my God, the pen is broken and my hand is full of ink. Well, that happens.
Yes, absolutely. And talking about just, doing the research, and so one part, because we are almost ending like towards the end of our conversation, the idea is to celebrate all the researchers, every single researcher on the world. That is the motive behind Researcher Celebrities, and Empowering Science Foundations power that. How do you see yourself as a celebrity? Before this Researcher Celebrity invitation, have you ever thought of yourself as a celebrity, as in Researcher Celebrity?
No.
Okay.
I've never thought of that, and I guess that science is kind of a weird field to be in. If you want to say celebrities, you can know people by name but not how they look, just because you may have read papers on them. They may have cited your work. You may have cited their work, but you have no idea how they look. So I've never probably more people that I think know my name just because of my papers, or because of the labs I've been part of, or whatever it is. But I've never considered myself a celebrity. I don't think I am a celebrity. But yeah, so that's the
continuing this, you have read so many names, Nobel laureates. You might not have seen their pictures, but just because they got Nobel, they are celebrity all over the world.
Yeah.
There are stories where the person who got Nobel worked on something else, which the foundation work was there. They just utilized it and then they did it in a different way and they got the Nobel for that. How we see everyone as a celebrity because somebody has done that foundational work, where somebody came and gave their perspective and built something totally either transformational or well enough for getting the Nobel. Every single researcher is a celebrity. And that is the reason why we say that everyone should feel proud, own your research because you have done a lot of hard work. And not to compare every single person on this world, whosoever is living today or have gone past, they have done their due contribution, and the way researchers give it to society is just a different way to do the same. Because a single shop owner who sells bread or all the groceries is very important for a town, because that's what everyone brings their bread to their table. When researchers do their experiments in their lab, as probably you might have also faced it, nobody knows what you are doing in the lab. They only know that, okay, Gerard is a researcher. He goes to university. He does something in there. On Sundays also, he sometimes go in there. This is the thing which always feels very, it's forced me to do this web series, that why every researcher don't feel very proud of that what they are doing and why they cannot think of being themselves as celebrities.
Well, there has, so that you bring a good point on Nobel Prizes. So Nobel Prize winners, obviously they're celebrities. They should be celebrities because all of them have done outstanding contributions to science. Otherwise, they wouldn't receive that Nobel Prize. However, their successes are also everybody that has been in their lab that have mentored them. That
Yes.
Like it's probably a Nobel Prize has at least 100 people behind them that are also part of that Nobel Prize. The same way that, let's say, Virat Kohli's success is not only Virat Kohli's, it's also his teammates, it's also his junior teammates, his coaches, his trainers, his, everybody around him make who he is, and he should be celebrated. Of course he should be. But I mean, I'm also getting into another argument here, but it's the same with the Nobel Prize. Like the success of a Nobel Prize winner, it's also the success of everybody around them, because they're not the ones that discovered the RNA molecule. People in their lab discovered the RNA molecule, and of course they deserve to be the prize winner, but there's also like the foundations behind them. And also like people that have their professors at the university, PhD advisor, all that is also prize winners.
Absolutely. And I think that's how everyone is so proud of when anything like this happens in their hierarchy or, down their line. So now on the closing remarks for the conversation, what you would like to suggest for the budding researchers, the people who are doing their PhDs and who are done with their PhDs and now thinking of pursuing research as a career?
So for people that are finishing or that are doing research at the moment, so I think that the main point we touched already, it's not all going to be great. There's going to be times where you feel horrible about yourself, about the work you've put in, but there are also going to be times where it comes back up, and you have to know that science is a roller coaster. And as long as you do your part, there's never going to be any regrets. It's different if your experiment fails because you don't want to get up and you're lazy. But if it fails because something is not working biologically, then it's fine. It's data. Data is data. So that's fine. And the second part that I think it's reported and underscored in most talks, in most people's eyes, is mental health.
Oh, yes.
Lately, it has been a surge on mental health advocacy, and I think that everybody should care about their mental health. That's not only burnt out, but it's also depression. It's also other more important mental health issues that may come to anybody at any time. It can be heartbreak. It can be anything that impacts your ability to
Yes.
get up and do your job or to enjoy life. So if you have any of these problems, seek help, and everybody, I think, would help you. And if they don't, then it's not your place to be in. If your mentor do not respond to a mental health claim, just step away from them, and somebody else will help you.
Yes.
So yeah.
That is very important bullets which you have given, Gerard. Thank you very much. With this, we would like to thank you for sharing your journey and giving all those word of wisdom, which were exactly the bullet points at the end of that conversation. And now I can tell all of my audience and viewers that if they want, they can connect with Gerard. You can easily find him on any network. And he is always, as he said, he's ready to help. If you want researcher celebrities or Empowering Science Foundation to help you, we are there to help, either counseling or putting you in touch with people who can help you out. So with this, we would like to once again saying thanks to Gerard and good luck for future. And for all our viewers, we'll see you in a next episode of Researcher Celebrities. Thank you.